Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout as we look ahead to festive Game Week 19. We all hope that one day we can reach a top placing in FPL and maybe, just maybe, win it. Today I'm joined by someone who could actually do that. My name is Joe and joining me to reveal his team ahead of Game Week 19 is the current world number 9, Dylan. Dylan, welcome. How are you?
I'm great, Joe. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to share some of the season so far.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm excited to see your team. I'm sure everyone else is as well, because we want to try and copy it and copy what you're doing. I said before go on air that when I used to do the Scoutcast with Mark and Granville, we used to get people like you on, top 10 placing people, and we were the kiss of death. We used to give terrible advice and they would plummet. So a caveat, anything I say, ignore, and everyone listening and watching, everything Dylan says, except what he says.
And Joe, you'll never beat the Irish look.
His Irish luck is doing well, but also skill, because, as we'll find out, he is no stranger to a good rank finish in FPL as well. Just before we have a look at his previous seasons and also his seasons so far, before we look at his team reveal, just a reminder, everyone watching and listening, to press that like button and also to subscribe if you're not subscribing already, to keep up to date with our videos and podcasts. Also, there's a 7-day free trial over at fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. Do check that out. A 20% offer as well there, so you can construct your own tables, have a look at the season ticker, sort by difficulty, all those kinds of things, and the Rate My Team tool. So lots of bells and whistles over Christmas to look at there. Okay, Dylan, let's have a look at, I've got pictures on your screen now of your 2023-24 season so far, and that shows currently at 9th, and also your previous seasons. So I'll go with your previous seasons first, because
Cool.
now it's fairly evident you're quite young as well. So I'm presuming at school you started playing FPL, and a familiar story is you sort of didn't take it that seriously, or were maybe competing in a mini league, and but now you are. So what's your history?
I suppose my brother is a massive Spurs fan. He got me on things early. He wanted to put me in the right path. So at a young age, I'd say that's about 5, 6 years ago now. So I only would have been 14. So these are ranks from a 14-year-old, and maybe they're not the best, but just inactive as well. I mean, if you go through some of the transfers, I don't think a lot happened. But so basically, my brother put me straight, and he told me, "Look, this is what you're doing now, and give it a go." But yeah, I was someone that was always in mini leagues with my mates, and we done some drafts. So I often actually played draft more than anything. I hadn't a clue about overall rank. I didn't even know it existed. But yeah, I just at the start, I suppose, first 3 years I picked random players. I didn't watch anyone except Tottenham. Massive Spurs fan, I'm sure most of you know by now. And then 2021, then I was in my last year at secondary school, and I started taking things a bit serious. It got at the start of the season, I was like number 5 in Ireland, and I boasted about it to all my mates. Who was absolutely crushing in the mini league, might add. They'll get on to me for that. But yes, week by week, I was doing really well. It was the Team of Pookie year, and I was on fire, so I just kept at it, and things happened to work out for me.
Okay. Yeah, that 2020-21 season, you got top 5,000 finish. You finished 4,323rd. The previous season, as you said, you alluded to, well outside the top million there. Being a Spurs fan now, pretty much Harry Kane, Son, they do well most seasons. So I'm presuming there was some Spurs investment in 2020-21 that
Harry Kane and Jamie Vardy. They were my two guys.
Right. Okay. There we go then.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you get that. You get a couple of players. I remember past seasons when I played. You might have been playing them when Luis Suarez was there. He might have left the league by then. But yeah, exactly. He pretty much carried my season for that season.
Makes it more fun too when you have a player that's doing well in real life and in the game. It's like a 2-in-1 package.
Yeah. Definitely. Still quite strong finishes 2021, 22, 22, 23. So, well within the top 200K, just outside the top 500,000 there. But nothing like it was before. But this season is a completely different story. So you started off game week 1 in about 6 million. So I think there was only 7 or 8 million. And now you're 9th. So you've been in the top 10 since game week 8, and then dipping out and then back in again over that period. What is the main reason you've done well, do you think, this season?
Um, this reason, the reason this season is I've watched so many games this season. As I'm getting older, like I'm starting to make a lot more of my own decisions, how I see things, you know what I mean? I suppose when you're younger, like you're asking for people for tips, but now I'm doing things with my own eyes kind of way. I'm more invested to be honest. Like I take time to look at it now. I won't be the biggest stat guy, but I'm more of an eye test if anyone
Okay.
believes in that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But I suppose this season, I suppose at the start of the season I wasn't doing well, and a lot of people were letting me know I'm not doing well. The no Haaland was absolutely kicking my ass at the start,
So that's been
but
so you've had no Haaland. Have you had Haaland
no
at all?
Haaland for no for 18 game weeks so far.
Oh my lord.
Yeah, FPL actually retweeted my thread that I made, and I actually got my account going on Twitter.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 6.2 in the world near the start, first two, 3 game weeks, and then I brought in Sterling game week 3.
Ah,
I don't know if you want to get into the
well,
team just yet.
I'll get into your Gameweek 19 team in a sec, but we'll just look at this sort of history so far.
Okay,
So yeah, because I noticed in Game Week 3, I think your Game Week rank that week was huge,
it was
and
like
no
top
one,
400, I think.
yeah. So it was like in the
Mm.
top 500 scores that week, and
Yeah,
jump.
so
Yeah, amazing.
sorry, I suppose if like the first 2 game weeks kind of reflected how bad not having Haaland was. And then game week 3 and 4 kind of showed like, all right, if Haaland blanks or you have someone to cover him, you can do ridiculously well.
Okay.
So for example, game week 3, I'm pretty sure Haaland, I don't know if he blanked that game week, but Sterling got me 38 points. And
Wow.
in game week 4, I brought in Son and Alvarez, and I think Alvarez got like 14, and I captain Son who
Yeah.
got 40,
Okay.
and he matched Haaland. So
Yeah.
that really helped, of course.
Yeah.
But that was the main thing. And then I done a lot of good transfers. I started off with the likes of Watkins and Nunes, and I had Trent at the start as well. Now Trent got injured during the season,
Okay.
and I'm not sure what game week it was, but I brought in Trippier. He got me 18 points, 8 points. It was ridiculous, like. And then I was early on Bowen as well, and of course I already had Watkins. And then I'm one to make a rogue captaincy choice for sure.
Okay.
But if it pays off, you know what I mean. Your rank is going to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I'd say I play with a lot of risk, and I know a lot of people are not for that, but for me, that's what brings a lot of enjoyment to the game for me. Like going into the game with not knowing what can happen, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So the rogue. So you captain Sterling.
Game
Uh,
week 1, I captain Eze.
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But but
Um,
but but for every rogue decision like that, some work out. But when they work out, it's spectacular. That going from six
yeah.
million to 156k is
Mm,
huge, and then going from 156k to on the edge of the top 10k is even huger.
exactly. And it just gets better and better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose like high risk, high reward.
Yeah.
That's general thing in life, and it applies to fantasy football as well. Just go with what you believe in, and it will pay off if you really think it.
Yeah. Definitely. So you've been in sort of hovering around the top 10, sometimes dipping out 285 fifth in game week 14. I mean, these are still great ranks. But what has been the secret to staying in the top 10k, to sort of being hovering around that point?
Yeah, just stick to what I'm doing. So the strategy has been no Haaland so far, and for good reason, in my opinion. You get to spread the funds, like, and this is a season with a lot of injuries. I see like people say like I'm fairly lucky, and of course I am, but a lot of people every week they have to make transfers because of injuries. I'm playing with like a very good squad, I'd say. So I don't, I dodge bullets basically by
Okay.
not owning them,
Okay.
and a lot of players I have are somewhat, so I have 2 or 3 that are usually a risk, but the rest are nailed.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I definitely don't play safe.
Okay.
You need to, when you're in a position like this, I think you need to expect weeks when you don't have Haaland to get a red arrow and
Okay.
be okay with it, because
Okay.
there's going to be weeks that will come where you do really well when Haaland blanks, for
Gotcha.
example.
Okay. So, I mean, we'll look at your team in a sec, but Haaland's currently injured, currently
Yeah.
But he could be back game week 19.
Mm.
He could be back game week 20. I mean, he'll be back at some point. So that starts again. Do you have, with Son and Salah going to their respective cup competitions in January, do you have any plans to get Haaland back in and sort of use that money?
For sure. I think with those two going, I kind of don't really have much choice, to be honest.
Okay.
Absolutely, everyone's gonna have them if they already don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, if those two weren't going, I would consider playing the season without him. But
Wow.
I mean, he has great fixtures,
Yeah.
and I think I'd be silly not to get him in.
Okay. Well, I mean, we've had situations before when I started saying, you could win it, and we've had situations before where FPL winners have made such a move. I mean, the most sort of famous was Ben Crabtree, who Everton fan went the whole season without any Liverpool, and that was the season of Salah.
Mad.
So and he won it because he
Fair play.
partly he adopted very similar tactics to you. He's saying, well,
Mm.
if I'm not going to have Salah, I'm going to look elsewhere and hope they pay off. And obviously it has with you. Okay, let's have a look at your team then. So, I mean, that's what a lot of
Cool.
people are here for. They're looking to prepare for Game Week 19. Just before we look at it, I noticed you wildcarded. When did you wildcard?
I wildcarded game week 17. It was mostly
Oh,
due to injuries. I
that's
didn't
different.
want to do it,
Okay,
but a lot of people are saying it's very similar
okay.
to the week before, and it is because I was happy with the midfield five, and it was mostly to cover injuries. And I was
Okay,
unfortunately, Raul got a red card and Pau got injured, so it definitely looks more similar now.
okay.
But that was mostly to cover injuries, to be honest.
Okay, right, yeah. Well, let's have a look at your team. So, just put it in context. This is a sort of fairly newishly wild-carded team. So, do you want to read out your team? Hopefully, you've got them there on your screen.
Yeah,
Just
I have
sort of,
it.
obviously, it's your team, so you should do. Do you want to read
I
out
have it in here.
your team and sort of dwell on any key decisions that you've got?
We have double Liverpool. So Dubravka on goal. Newcastle have been unbelievable at home,
Yeah,
and with Nuno Espirito Santos coming in for Forest, I've seen him at Spurs, and I think he'll need some time to make an impact on Forest, and they're not been great. So
yeah.
I think Newcastle have a good chance for a clean sheet there. Double Liverpool at the back against Burnley. I think that
Okay.
it could be lethal. It either goes two ways, they get subbed off early, or I come out here with up to 20 points potentially. Like the upside is outweighs anything else, to be honest. Pedro Porro versus Brighton. Big fan of Pedro Porro being a Spurs fan,
Yeah.
and Brighton they look very vulnerable. They've conceded. I think they're gone on a mad record. I'm not sure what the stat is, but
Well, yeah. I
since
mean,
the Derby,
I'm a Brighton fan, and
yeah,
so on the attack, they've gone. They've got the fourth longest scoring record consecutive games in Premier League history,
that
and it
is
was
mad.
only beaten by Arsenal last week, and then they scored again last night against Crystal Palace. So we're recording this on Friday for those watching over the weekend. But yeah, but they conceding every game.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's what you're getting out of them. So that's why they're
Mm.
a popular team. I say this tentatively amongst a sort of a second team because they're fun. You can
Yeah,
get
100%.
goals.
It's a bit like Spurs. Like
Yeah,
you're I like De Zerbi's style. He's very attacking, possession based, and he's willing to take a risk. He's like me playing FPL.
yeah,
But he was bringing in a load of young fellas, people he's willing to take a risk on,
yeah,
and I think over the long haul, he's been unfortunate with injuries, and you have
yeah,
a good run of fixtures coming now. You have a good chance.
yeah. And also Evan Ferguson up front as well, which is good for you in Ireland.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and I think
He looks bright, all right.
another Ireland a young fella in the under 21s who's coming through as well. So yeah, there
Keep
you
an
go.
eye out.
Keep an eye out. Yeah, Pedro Porro's been in my team for a while, and I completely agree. I'm not. I mean, I like Spurs, but I'm not a Spurs fan. I'm a Brighton fan.
Uh,
But Porro, wow, he's one of my favourite players to own
nice.
at the moment.
Yeah, he's exciting. It's almost like playing with another midfielder, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah.
And I have Trent, so it's like playing with seven midfielders.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's definitely the
that's
way
the
to do
thought
it.
process
So,
anyway.
what's the decision around getting Alexander Arnold and Van Dijk as well? Because obviously this is for a number of game weeks.
Yeah. So the idea was I've been watching a lot of Liverpool recently, and they haven't been the most solid at the back. But every time I see Liverpool play, they have many set pieces, whether it's free kicks from the right, free kicks from the left, corners,
Yeah.
and usually the provider is strength. And Van Dijk is a massive aerial presence, so he seems to get on the end
Yeah.
of a lot of headers. Now he hasn't converted too many this season yet, but I don't know. The double up looks good, and I think they have a lot. So when I brought him in, they had a good few home fixtures against good teams and away fixtures against not so great teams. No disrespect to any of them.
Yeah. Okay. So and you've got a 3-5-2. So what's your midfield game week 19?
So with Cole Palmer, favorite around the FPL community right now.
Yeah.
He's great for the value. I actually brought him in really early. I got him for 4.9, so
Wow.
really happy with him. Yeah. Saka, he's a really good run of fixtures coming up now. I'm not sure about the penalty situation, but I'd be actually willing to get rid of Saka if he's not on the penalties, to be honest. I've built up a lot of team value on him now, but it might come time for him to go. We'll see. Mo Salah, of course, and the armband is on him for now. I'm not quite sure who I'm going to captain. I know you might say, "Oh, it's obviously Salah," but in a week like this, I'm willing to take a risk on like the likes of Trent. I've done it
Yeah.
before and it hasn't paid off, but I don't
Okay.
know. It definitely tickles my fancy.
Okay.
Next we got Son.
Yeah.
Sonny's been great this season.
Yeah.
He's on the penalties as well. He'll be going away soon, so I'll be looking to get rid of him. Someone I have my eye on, keep an ear out for this is Bruno. I really
Oh.
like Bruno for FPL. Yeah, I
Okay.
know Man United are not been good, but if you look at my team, a lot of players are nailed or they play for a big side.
Yeah.
I feel like if you play for a team like City, doesn't matter who you are, if you play for Spurs,
Yeah.
Liverpool, Arsenal, and you're an attacker, you're likely to get returns.
Yeah.
That's not to say the lower league teams, they're not good assets, but I just feel like, if you put, for example, Gabriel Jesus in City, he does well. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You put him in Arsenal, he does well.
Yeah.
So just that's something to look out for as well when you're choosing players, I'd say. Next we have Foden.
Yeah.
He hasn't done me so well so far, but I think they have a double coming soon. Not quite sure when it is, but they have a great run of fixtures. And Foden, I'm happy to keep him. And Haaland and De Bruyne are not in full training yet, so I think I can get away with a few more weeks keeping him.
Okay. And then up front, your strike force. I mean, the reason even though this on the screen, everyone can see that, is more for the podcast version, so they can't see
Yeah.
it. Who's up front?
Gabriel Jesus. I'm actually a really big fan of Gabriel Jesus. He plays for Arsenal now, but I like the way he is. He gets a lot of flack because he doesn't score the most amount of goals. But again, he plays for Arsenal up top, and it looks like he's guaranteed minutes, and he's done well the last 3 weeks. So it's a good punt to have, in my opinion, and he's really good fixtures coming up.
Okay.
And I say the most surprising one in the team is probably Alvarez. But again, it's the same thought process. Like, I'm fairly sure with Haaland being out,
Okay.
Alvarez is now on penalties. He's
Okay.
on a lot of set pieces as well. And again, he's playing up top for City. Like, he could be a really good differential. I know he dropped in price this morning, I
Yeah.
think.
And who's on the bench? I mean, I noticed that one of the names is Pau Torres. I'm presuming you probably might have been playing him a bit more regularly, but yes, he's injured at the moment. We think.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, game week 19. So who's on your bench?
So we got Martinez. Looking to start him next week for the home fixture.
Great.
He looks a solid option for probably a season holder, if even. We got Jean-Philippe Mateta. He was only a 1 week punt for last week, to be honest. I've seen a lot of people getting excited about that on Twitter, but
Yeah.
I just needed someone to fill the gap for the blank.
Okay.
Unfortunately, he didn't return, but it was good to have someone to be excited about for the game on Thursday, so
Yeah.
I didn't mind doing it at all. Colwell against Crystal Palace. See, Colwell is someone that would either get you 2 points or 6 points, so I have no problem benching him.
Okay.
He could easily get a clean sheet in that, but the upside for the three at the back that I have now is much higher in my opinion.
Okay.
And then we have Pau. I actually decided not to go to Consa because I felt like that was almost sideways.
Yeah.
Obviously, in hindsight, I probably should have went to Consa, but I preferred risking Mateta, to be honest. And we don't know what's actually wrong with Torres just yet. It's just a knock, I'm fairly sure. So we'll see what happens.
I mean, with the double Liverpool defence, Porro and Colwell already, you can certainly carry Pau Torres if he's injured for 2-3
Exactly, yeah.
weeks even. You can easily carry him.
I'll be
there.
looking at a City defender as well.
Okay.
I think they're going underneath the radar.
Okay. So,
Quick
I'll
spoiler.
put the fixtures up in a sec, so that'll think about, so we can think about your sort of future moves there. But I just want to go back to the captaincy as well, because now early in the season, Salah was playing Brighton, and Son was at home. I can't remember who to, Luton, I think maybe. But he was the most popular captain that week, certainly amongst engaged managers. But I did a sort of captaincy video and I looked at all the stats, and what you were saying earlier about Brighton's clean sheets, or rather lack of. And I went for Salah, and he got a massive return, and Son blanked. And I just wonder whether the same might happen this week as well. Because as you said, I mean, Son is in great form. Spurs are attacking side. Brighton always concede.
Yeah.
And I mean, this fixture here, we could see some reduced minutes even for Salah. I mean, Burnley away has been traditionally when Klopp has rotated for some reason. Yeah, are you still not definite on Salah, captain? Because you mentioned Alexander
Um,
Arnold, but is Son,
I
could Son be in your thoughts?
I think Son is a good option, but personally, I don't fancy us against Brighton. I don't know what it is. Last year, I went over to watch Antonio Conte's side against Brighton, and he ended up nicking a 1-0.
Oh,
So that
was that
somehow scarred
was
me.
that the Amex, or yeah,
No, it was in
was it
Tottenham Hotspur
Spurs?
Stadium.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But just over Salah, I think they have a good break before they play Newcastle next. So, and he's going off to AFCON after
yeah.
that. So
Okay,
I think he will probably get 90, if I were to guess now.
okay.
Um, but I prefer, if I were to pick between Salah and Son, I personally would pick Salah. And if I were to pick between Trent and Salah, I suppose we'll have to see.
Okay, right, yeah. As I said at the beginning of the show, everyone, including you, forget everything I say, because you, whatever you're doing the right thing. Okay, well, let's have a look at the next few fixtures. So I've got Game Week 19
Yeah,
and up to Game Week 23. So this takes us over this sort of festive period. Got Game Week 19 and then up to Game Week 20. And then we've got this bit of a break in January. All those AFCON, Asia Cup players, they all go. And then so you've got this from mid-January, you've got 21, 22, 23. Next few games there. Teams are going to look different. There's going to be no Son, no Salah. Haaland, we assume, would be back. Will be heavily captained most weeks. And meanwhile, the fixtures change. Brighton are at the top. They've got Tottenham, West Ham, Wolves, Luton, and Crystal Palace in their next fixtures. Then Manchester United. So I'll dwell on this. Now, you said about Fernandes, you like Fernandes, you got your eye on him. And Manchester United with Aston Villa, Nottingham Forest, Tottenham, Wolves, West Ham. These are good fixtures from an attacking point of view for them. Is that something you've looked at in Fernandes?
for sure. Yeah. I think Fernandez is probably going to replace Son or Saka for me
Okay.
eventually. I'm not sure at what point because for the time being, I'm happy with both of them. But again, I think Bruno is one of the best midfielders in the league. I think he's heavily underrated by other fans. Maybe that's just me now, but I'm a big fan of Bruno, and everything goes through him. I say this all the time, and I have a lot of United friends, so they're always giving me pointers. But I know myself.
Chelsea are next in this season. So I've sorted this by difficulty. Crystal Palace, Luton, Fulham. Then they Liverpool. That's a tough game. But then they got Wolves at home. Um, Now you already doubled up. You got a bit of their defence. You got Palmer as well. With Jackson's off to Afcon, and Kunku is starting to get minutes. Broya as well, very cheap, and you've got Mateta, so you've got a sort of Broya shaped hole in your team.
Uh-huh.
Are you tempted to get a bit more Chelsea, or are you still sort of looking at them and thinking, are they good yet?
I think Chelsea get more criticism than they probably deserve. I know the results haven't been great, but I think stats wise, I know a lot of people love the stats. I'm not one for them myself, but stat wise, for goals and XG and all that, they're well up there. Something they're lacking on is key passes. I watch a lot of like for example Tifu on 442, and one of their videos was about what Pochettino is missing, and I thought it was quite interesting. And I think Nkunku could be that player that fills that gap. He's very creative. So he's very tempting, to be honest, and especially if he's on penalties.
Okay.
I think he will most likely be the penalty taker. So he probably makes Palmer a worse option, but at the same time he brings a lot of creativity.
Okay.
So he could also benefit Sterling and Palmer. So
Okay.
um, I am kind of tempted, yeah.
Okay. And next up is Arsenal. I mean, luckily they're in good form.
Mhm.
So that, and you've also got Arsenal players. You've got Jesus and Saka as well. So they've got West Ham, Fulham, Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, then Liverpool in game week 23. So up until that Liverpool game, pretty good fixtures there. Are you tempted by someone like, say, Odegaard, or is just getting a third Arsenal attacker just a bit too far for you?
I think it is a small bit too far. Those fixtures they have, they're good fixtures. I could see him conceding all of them at the same
Yeah.
time. Maybe that's just me. Maybe not Forest, and they might get away with
Okay.
Palace. But um, don't get me wrong, Arsenal have one of the best defenses
Yeah.
in the league,
Yeah.
and these are great fixtures for him at the same time. But I'm happy with just keeping Jesus and Saka, and especially with the midfield slots, they're kind of royalty this year. You could get anyone in those spots and
Okay.
quite do quite well.
I mean, looking at this and looking at your team as well, you can see your decision making. You say you sort of take risks and things, but this is very considered because you went for Jimenez in your wild card,
Yeah.
and Fulham. Guess what? A fifth best fixtures from festive time
It's
through to
annoying. It's
January.
annoying.
So
I
that's
was really
annoying,
happy with him
but
in
the
this
thought
too.
process was there.
It was there, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. He was gonna be my knight in shining armor, but it wasn't to be apparently. So
As you said, you might get Haaland back
it's looking
in.
likely. Yeah.
But you also already got Man City double up. They're going to have a double game week at some point with that
Yeah.
rearranged Brentford game from game week 18. But meanwhile, game week 19, they got Everton, then Sheffield United at home, Newcastle away, Burnley and Brentford. So a good bunch of fixtures there, apart from that Newcastle game there. So once again, I can see that thought process of you doubling up already
Yeah.
and going for the top players.
They've got great fixtures. I would definitely be looking at a third City player, and it's
Okay.
probably going to be a defender.
Okay.
But at some point I'll have to switch probably Alvarez to Haaland, which is probably a good move because Alvarez's minutes is probably at risk once De Bruyne and Haaland are back, of course. So be interesting to see what Pep does.
It's interesting as we're talking and sort of thinking about my team as well, because that's what everyone viewing and listening will be thinking about their team and how they can apply that. And my thought process around this time is I'm looking at Salah and Son, and I'm looking at players like, say, Bowen or Richarlison, which I'm
Great
sure
picks.
they're sort of on your radar too. But your thought process is good teams, good fixtures, and all of the teams that you're focusing on have got great fixtures. Whereas West Ham have got Arsenal, then Brighton, Sheffield United and Bournemouth are good, but then Manchester United. So real mixed fixtures, and they're the fourth worst over this period. Some people might have gone for, say, Anthony Gordon, who may or may not be injured, Isaac Wilson, Newcastle attackers, but they got the second worst set of fixtures here. But you've only
Yeah,
got
that's
Dubravka.
interesting. Yeah. So thankfully I can switch interchangeably with Martinez. So I
Right.
think that's really handy.
Okay.
Dubravka is a great choice for the money,
Yeah.
especially with how good Newcastle are at home.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, looking at the fixtures here, so you've got Nottingham Forest for Newcastle, that's their opponents in game week 19 there.
Yeah,
Looking at Villa, they've got Manchester United, but guess what? Villa have got Burnley and Everton next two. Newcastle, meanwhile, have got Liverpool City, so you can bench there.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
I'm just sort of stress testing this, and then Newcastle got Aston Villa away, and Aston Villa, obviously Newcastle and Aston Villa. So you take your pick who's going to get the most save points, I guess. And then
Um,
Newcastle and Aston Villa, you can take your pick a little bit there because Aston Villa have Sheffield
exactly.
United.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's you can have Martinez exactly when you need him, and you can have Dubravka exactly when you need him as well. And I
Yeah.
guess this.
Usually, sorry.
I was, yeah, I was just going to say Dubravka might actually be replaced at some point in January as well.
Exactly, yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Usually I don't play with two playing goalkeepers, but Dubravka for the price and Newcastle's form at home is quite good.
Okay.
So, and I knew in the back of my mind that Dubravka is most likely going to be shipped on
Yeah.
eventually. So I didn't mind having two playing goalkeepers in that sense.
Okay. Now I mentioned I'm looking at Richarlison as a
Yeah,
potential replacement for Son. You're a Spurs fan. Are you tempted by Richarlison?
Yeah, I was really tempted by Richarlison, to be honest. The only problem I had is for who. It's really hard to get rid of the likes of Saka, because of fixtures, Palmer, Price, Son is going away soon. That was a consideration. But I'd be silly to get rid of Son just yet, my opinion.
Oh,
Another one I think is slipped under the radar is Brendan Johnson. I know he's a head
okay.
injury now,
Yeah.
but Richarlison looks good right now because he's doing well. But any of the front four for Spurs, I'd say keep an eye on. Like it's not just Richarlison.
When from Gameweek 21, when Son goes off for the Asia Cup, are you tempted to get Richarlison then?
Um, See, it's a mix up. I have to choose between Bruno, Richarlison, Brendan Johnson. I might be. I'm not sure. I haven't really looked at the pricing, but if I do Salah to Brendan Johnson, I can upgrade Alvarez up to Haaland. So that was something I was considering.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, yeah, and that, you've anticipated my next question. Really, getting Haaland back in. If you don't have Haaland, that's actually harder than it looks. But so
yeah.
with the team that you've got at the moment, I'll put it back on up on the screen so people can see it. Do you have anything in the bank at the moment?
So I think I have point 0.4 in the bank. My team value is
Okay.
100 104,
Okay.
which is not too bad.
That's not too bad. Annoyingly, my team. I don't never really look at value, but my value's more than that. But obviously, I'm not in the top 10, so I think I'd prefer to swap places. Obviously, but with just looking to get Haaland. So Salison gone, game at 21, and so you're looking to upgrade. It's Alvarez would make way for Haaland, and you would use money from the Salah and Son sale to get Haaland.
Yeah, so Bowen, Bruno, Richarlison, Brendan
Okay.
Johnson for, and then Haaland and maybe upgrade Jesus eventually to Watkins. That's the
Okay.
thought process so far. I think with the likes of the two Liverpool boys at the back and Porro, like these are fellas that are going to play 90 most
Yeah.
weeks. You're not going to get much better choices than them, so I'm happy to keep them for the long run so far anyway, as long as nothing comes up.
and and thinking even further ahead,
Hmm.
when Salah and Son return,
Yeah,
you'll probably want them back.
for
So
sure.
what's the plan then? Does then Haaland make way? And what if a double game
That's
week
very interesting now
coincides with that?
because I was thinking about that, how that's going to work. But I don't think once I get Haaland in, I think he'll be staying in my team.
Okay.
Um, Salah, I would prefer to have Salah over Son. Salah is just a phenom. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter who he's against, he can always return.
Yeah.
Whereas Son, like he does go through his patches. He's been amazing this season. Don't get me wrong, but again, Richarlison for the price and Johnson, I think it could be worth.
Yeah, definitely there. Just before we go, any other thoughts about say game week 19? Some of the matchups there. So I'll put the fixtures back up. So just to remind us who's playing game week 19. Just any other general thoughts about game week 19? Advice as well
Advice.
for
Um,
this week and beyond for our listeners and viewers.
I would say if you have 11 that you're happy with, don't go making a transfer just for the sake of it. I would say tie congestion with during December, and you'll eventually want Haaland back. So I would say try keep your transfer if you can, and it'll give you way more flexibility for the fixtures to come.
Excellent stuff. Well, thanks so much for joining me. It's been a real pleasure. It's been a real eye opener for me. I've certainly rethought my plans, and and also one of the things I quite like about sort of FPL advice that's simple, but
Yeah.
but works is you basically got good players from good teams, and
It's
just
it's not too complicated. Just one thing I say is I'm a large believer in like my opinion is just as valid as anyone. It doesn't matter where you are in the game.
yeah
I could, for example, next week I could drop down to outside the top 5K. I could be on Focal's twat team. I don't know if you've seen that.
yes I
Yeah.
have yeah
And then the next week I could be outside the top 10K, but that's not necessarily because I've made the wrong choice. That's just how FPL is.
yeah
So just because I'm in the top 10, I wouldn't say anyone's opinion is any more as valid as mine. So
okay
definitely do what you think,
yeah.
and it could work out for you. Just give it a go. Why
Although
not?
I'm going to say your opinion is more valid. Certainly than mine because you're in the top 10. but
Okay, we'll take
but
that.
yes, it's up to people. You're very modest to say that, and people can make up their own minds. But I think a lot of people will go, this guy's in the top 10.
Yeah, see, if you tell me who should I bring in, I won't name one player. If you suggest two
Yeah.
fellas though, I will pick one for you.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. That's excellent. Great advice. Thanks so much. Good luck in your attempt to win it. And I hope you stay in the top 10 for a long time, and are competing for the top slot, and that would be absolutely fabulous to have spoken to a future champion. So that's great.
Let's see how it goes.
Let's see how it
So far,
goes.
so good. I can't complain. Thanks for having me, Joe.
No, thanks a lot. Just a reminder to everyone: do press that like button. Do remember to subscribe as well if you're not already. And Dylan, thanks so much for joining me. Take care. See you soon.
Thank you, Joe. Bye.